no matter where you go in the world, you're going to get asked for your credit, whether it's if you're trying to buy a house or get a loan, they're going to ask you for credit. If you're trying to buy a car or get a loan for a car, they're going to ask you for credit. If you're trying to apply for an apartment to rent, they're going to ask you for your credit. Sometimes jobs look at your credit scores. If you want to buy a couch, there's like so many little things where credit matters, and it's such a huge part of our life. And unfortunately, it's this taboo subject that people don't talk about. And I think we should, right? It's something that is very, very important. It's part of everyone's lives. And credit cards have always been looked at as like these nasty little things. And I can see why and how easy it is to get down that path. To completely be honest with you guys, at one point when I was like 18, I maxed out my credit cards at the time. I was really young, obviously. It was only like $1,500, and I needed help from my parents to pay that off. I worked my ass off to make sure it was paid off, but that is like the dark sides of credit cards, right? It's very easy to get consumed just swiping your credit card and seeing your money kind of, you're not seeing money go away. So that's why it's so easy to get into debt with credit cards, unfortunately. But what I'm going to show you is like the pros and cons of credit cards and how you can use them to your advantage, specifically when it comes to traveling, and how I use it. For anyone who doesn't have any credit experience, I can give you, a slight edge into maybe what credit cards to get, how to possibly apply for them, and how to start building for that. So let's get started, guys. Again, right? It's like table of contents. Like, why are we doing this? Like, we're doing it again because we live in a credit-based society. That's just the reality of it. The risk behind it all, credit cards are addicting. There's interest rates if you don't pay your credit cards, right? This is something that people forget. 3, the steps building your credit overall and just building into the tiered system of credit cards. There's about like 5 different tiers. We're not going to get all of them into today. And 4, the travel and perks, the fun side of credit cards and being able to manipulate them to help you and figure out, what best is needed. I kind of went over this already a little bit. We live in a credit card based society, and in this country, you're really defined on how your credit is. Specifically for loans, anyone who's ever tried applying for anything knows you are going to get a credit run. If you apply for housing, you're going to get a credit run. Credit checks are just so common throughout society that it is very, very important that you protect your credit, you build it. But like I said, you kind of just need it overall within the society of the United States. And in order to get the nicer cards or the nicer credit cards that I'm going to show you later today, you do need a higher credit card, higher credit score. These companies do look at your reputation. They look at your history, your payments, if you're paying on time, how much are you paying, how much do you actually make, and all of that. All of that gets concluded into whether you even are able to get a credit card based on the little background checks that they do for us. And again, risk, guys, I've mentioned risk already. I really just have to put the disclaimer out here, right? Like, none of this is financial advice. If you decide to get a credit card, that is on your own decision. It is not mine. I am only here to educate you on the possibilities of what you can do with the credit card. So, yeah, like, I think one of my credit cards alone has a 21% interest rate. I think some of them go like a lot higher. I've seen like 30% credit card interest rates. Just something you really, please be careful with them. Don't max out your credit cards. That's the most stupidest thing you could possibly ever do, because you can get yourself into some serious trouble. Anyways, 3 steps. So step 1, credit score. So I think this is where a lot of people get stuck, especially if you're new. I know a lot of people inside of our server are fairly young. Maybe they're 18, maybe they're 19, 20, 21, haven't even started their credit score or haven't started their credit card journey. While it might be counterintuitive, a lot of people don't encourage people to get credit cards. I am going to be here to tell you, please go get a credit card. Please find a way, whether you're still living with your parents or you still have communication with your parents, you can sometimes leverage your parents in order to actually get a credit card, or sometimes what it's called, it's like a prepaid credit card where they actually put a limit with on your credit card. It might be like $300 and it's already prepaid, right? They've already put $300 as collateral so that if you max that out, that way you can actually get a credit card. Yeah, secured credit card, Charlena. I think those are like if you really can't do anything, that's a great place to start. There's a couple other ones that I'm going to show you guys as well, that are pretty good, especially if you're a student. And like I said, the next step in this is, why do you want a credit card, right? Like, why are we trying to get a credit card? Are we doing it because we don't have enough money? If that is I've literally had people tell me that they want to get credit cards because they don't have enough money to afford X, Y, and Z, or they need a little bit of extra cash for X, Y, and Z. And personally, and I know times are very hard and everyone has their own story, but if you need a credit card in order to get more things, I am not going to recommend a credit card for you. That is already showing signs of not having financial stability within your own realm. And adding a credit card into your life is just going to destroy it. It's going to make it worse. You already have bad habits in order to get to where you're at right now. I would steer you away. I would only recommend you get a credit card is if you are financially, quote unquote, I don't even want to say stable. I don't think stable is the right word. But if you understand how to run your money, if you have financial literacy to your own extent, right, and you're not in debt with other things, then I would really recommend you get a credit card. But if you're trying to get a credit card in order to get out of a bigger hole, I wouldn't recommend that. It might just put you into a deeper hole. If you're trying to build credit, totally understand, right? We all need it. That's a good entry point as well. If you're trying to take travel, it's probably like the biggest thing that a lot of you guys are going to be, excited about. And there's other stuff, right? There's other stuff for other reasons of why you might want a credit card. There's business credit cards that can give you tax benefits, or just benefits in general because you're running your business through these credit cards and you're getting points. So overall, it's going to be a big help for you personally. So for entry cards, these were the three that I personally found that I think like were the best when it comes to applying for brand new credit cards. Like if you're brand new to the game, I think these three is where you should start. I put the Capital One at the bottom because I'm still a little bit iffy about that one. It's not my favorite. The reason why I really like the Discover cards is because they're literally targeted for students, right? Especially people who are just starting, new people who are entering the credit card game. There's no annual fee, right? So like that's the first thing you're going to see is that there's absolutely no annual fee, and that is what you call like the tier one. Yeah, I'm not a fan of them either, Charlena, but they do have like a pretty good entry into credit. Like they almost approve almost everybody, so that's kind of why I put it there. Just because I know there's a struggle, right? What I recommend people, if you're having issues with getting credit cards, don't start applying to every single credit card, because you're just gonna, if you get rejected once, that exists within your credit history, that people know that you're trying to pull credit, and it looks fishy if you start applying for like 3 or 4 cards at the same time. It almost looks like a scam, right? So I really recommend you hone into one. Another piece of advice that I've gotten from banks personally, if you bank with a specific bank, right? Let's say if you're with Wells Fargo or with Bank of America or Chase, go talk to your banker. And usually because you have history within that bank, you are more likely to get accepted for their basic entry credit card. That's another great step, right? That's how I started personally. Darian, that's exactly what I did. So I was 18. I went into Chase. Luckily enough, I was friends with the bank manager. Credit unions is another great thing. I love you guys. This is great. So yeah, I love this communication with you guys. I sat down with her. I was like, hey, I want to open a credit card. And she straight up told me, she's like, look, you have no credit experience. You have no credit history. But what we're going to bank on is the fact that you've been a banker, or you've been a customer of Chase for like maybe the past 3-4 years. Let's see what happens, right? So I applied for their basic entry. I think it was like the Chase Flex or Chase whatever. It's like the most basic card you can possibly get. And like my credit limit at the time was like $300 or like $250. And that's all I had for a couple of years. That I built my credit history with that card. Yeah, JMB, that's another one. As you start applying for credit cards, other credit card companies will start coming after you and trying to get you to be one of their customers. But like I said, don't over apply for credit cards. That's probably one of the biggest no-nos that's just going to happen. Stick to one. Like I said, I really like the Discover ones, especially for people who, a lot of you guys shop on Amazon, right? So they have really good rewards rates. It's earned 5% cash back on every purchase and every quarter, like Amazon, grocery stores, restaurant, gas stations, and stuff like that. So it's like, a really easy way for you to start earning rewards. Same thing with the Student Chrome. You earn 2% rate gas stations, restaurants up to $1,000. So each one will have different rewards based on it. I really recommend you guys do your due diligence in the same way we do it with stocks, right? Like, pay attention to these cards, look into them before you actually apply to them. If you still want more consultation on like, individual credit cards are brand new, I'd love to go over that as well, right? Maybe that is for next week and building credit card from complete scratch and how to get accepted into that. And Capital One, but like I said, my first bet is go to your credit union, go to your personal bank, go with your parents, see if they can co-sign you. Talk to them, say it's like, this is something you're interested in doing. If there's ways around, right? There's always ways for these companies. They want you as customers. They're not going to not want you, right? But you have to make that effort as well to do a little bit of discovery on your end. And so, right? Am I going to go over business credit in this lecture? Not necessarily, Nick. Business credit cards are almost the same as credit cards. So there's not a lot different. Essentially what you're doing is you're just applying for the credit card. It's still under your name, or it could be under the business's name. And it's still the same. They have different rules for business credit cards, but you still get almost the same exact perks. I think the big thing, Padre, you mentioned a good point. When I co-signed for my first car as well as a young kid, I was able to pay it off, but I co-signed with my auntie and it was under her name. And even though you're co-signed under it, you're not getting credit towards your actual credit score. And that's a shame, really. So make sure, even if you get co-signed by your parents, that the card is actually under your name, right? Like that's like the big one. It has to be under your name, your social security, because if not, I was literally helping my mom, my aunt, and everyone else grow their fucking credit scores because it was under their name. Like I was always paying on time, I was paying ahead, and my credit score was never growing, and I never understood why, right? But now I know, looking back on it, I'm like, okay, never doing that again. But those are my advice for entry credit cards. I think these are like my top 3, and we'll move forward from there. Loyalty cards. So this is kind of what I consider like a tier 2 card. This is a little bit different. This is when we start playing around with more tailored credit cards specifically for your needs. And the reason why I say that these are tier 2, because genuinely tier 2 credit cards will come with some type of annual fee. It's like a small annual fee, usually like $50, $25. Each one's a little bit different. And the reason why I kind of grabbed these 3, not specifically these 3, and this is why I said like credit cards specifically need to be tailored towards you. I think a perfect example is my friend. He lives in San Diego, and San Diego Airport is a hub for Southwest, right? So he was asking me like, what type of credit card should he get based on where he's traveling and where he goes? And one of the questions I'll always ask you guys is, where are you based out of, right? That's a question I didn't ask myself early on. I'm based in San Francisco, so my hub is United, right? The United literally has a whole terminal dedicated to United itself. They have the United Club there. They have a bunch of other lounges there. So if you're deciding, hey, I want to start building myself into this credit card system, I always have to ask myself, where am I flying out of? Because if that airline is the number one airline that you're always going to be flying out of, I really encourage you to build some type of loyalty with that credit card line, because it starts building more points. You start getting higher tiers just because of how many miles you're actually obtaining through that credit card. And it's just a good look on you. You slowly start getting, better seating or higher tiered boarding passes. You start maybe getting access to the lounges because you're such a high level within it. For me, because I fly United so much, right? Like, I purposely fly United because of the Centurion Lounge is there, and I'd rather go to the Centurion Lounge than anywhere else. So I purposely have my American Express dedicated to that just because I get to go there, right? Each one also has their own benefits, like Southwest in particular. They have something called a companion pass. So like, maybe you're married, maybe you have a fiance, maybe you're in a serious relationship and you and your partner travel together all the time. Like, that might be a really good card for you guys, because if you get that bonus points up to where you can get the free companion pass, you pay for your ticket, and then all you have to do is pay taxes and fees on your partner's pass or your companion's pass, and you guys get to travel together, right? So these are like little things that this is where you start paying attention to. It's like, hey, is Southwest the company I'm going to build into? My friend, she loves Alaska. She's always flying Alaska. So she is building into the Alaska mileage plan. She didn't get any of the higher tier cards because she wanted to build into Alaska. I also believe they have some type of companion fare as well. So that's another reason why she decided to get Alaska. And the reason I put Banana Republic is personally because I've actually had this card myself. It has its own benefits, doesn't have an annual fee, but I know people who love Banana Republic's clothes, and this gives them like 10% off every single time they do it. They get extra points, and eventually they use those points to buy more clothes at Banana Republic, right? So this is where you start making the decisions like, hey, do I want to invest my money into maybe building a loyalty with a clothing brand? Maybe it's a specific airline. You have to decide what is going to be best for you and your life and your lifestyle. These are just 3 examples that I've personally put. Again, these are not my recommendations overall. If you want more advice into them, God, I'm losing my voice. I am so sorry. This is where you like really take the time and start doing your due diligence on this. And yeah, like, I am tempted to get one of these soon, but personally, I just haven't really figured out which one I want to get yet. I think I want to do the United one just because I fly out of United so much. And because I travel to Mexico so much, United goes down there a lot. But I'm also thinking about Aeromexico because, like, I travel for them a lot, right? So it's a little bit different. Everyone's lifestyle is different. And this is where I want you guys to really take your time, especially the guys who have already developed, their own credit score and are a little bit higher on the tier. This might be your next step, right? This is the next jump up into tier 2, where you start looking at different credit card programs with loyalty cards. Charlena says, how many credit cards do you think one should have? I only have one, and it's been doing a great job with my score, but some may require more. Charlena, that is ultimately up to you. I think if I told you how many credit cards I have, you wouldn't believe me. And I'm not going to say how many I have because I think people would call me crazy. But they're all zero, right? They're all zeroed out. I don't owe any money on any of my credit cards. I am very, very strict on how I manage my credit, my finances. Like, I pay my shit off every single statement. I never let anything go over. I refuse to let credit cards. And that's the one thing, guys, if you get one of these, please just pay off the monthly statement every statement. That's it. That's all I ask. If you get one, right, pay off the statement. A lot of people try to pay it off completely. And that's actually, I guess maybe this is for the other lecture, but I'll just drop it in here. I remember I had my first Chase card, and I was paying it off completely before the statement was even due. And I did that for like a year. And like I said, I'm blessed that I'm friends with the branch manager there and the general manager. And she sat me down. She's like, "Hey, Mario, I need to talk to you." And I was like, "What's going on?" She's like, "Your credit score is not going up." And I was like, "I know why. Like I'm moving. I'm paying it off. Like I paid off right away." And she's like, "Yeah, but you're paying it off too fast." And Padre, see, that's actually incorrect. So she literally told me, because I'm paying off my card too fast and too soon, the system doesn't even register utilization. It doesn't register that you're using the card. So it's almost as if I was never using the card the whole time. So you actually have to use the card, let it get put into the system, let the statement print, and then pay off the statement. You're still not going to pay any interest on that, but it shows proof that you're paying on time, which is like the number one thing that these guys want to see. Can they pay on time? Are you paying the full amount, or are you just paying partial amount? And are you making the payment at all? So I really recommend you guys, once you start actually getting into these cards, spend money and then let the statement print and then pay when the statement is due, but clear it out completely. Don't let money go over unless it's in another statement, but finish that statement off completely. Make sure you zero out your credit cards all the time. There's no reason you guys should be paying interest. There's someone that said, "Oh, well, Melly, well, we were talking, right? So how many credit cards should you have?" So it depends. I have credit cards for every different thing, right? I have credit cards just for lounges. I have credit cards just for travel. I have credit cards just for business. I have credit cards literally just for hotels, right? They're called sock drawer cards, where I don't even carry them in my wallet. I pay the annual fee because the reward I get back is worth me paying my annual fee. In this case, I didn't even put it on here. It's called a Marriott Bonvoy, where I pay $99 a year, but it lets me get a one free night at any Marriott Bonvoy that's up to 35,000 in Marriott Bonvoy points of value, right? So what I like to do is I actually accumulate those, and then I link up with like my cousin, and my dad has one. So what we end up doing is literally all of us will just book one night together, and instead of having like a one free night or a two free night, we end up having like 5 free nights. So we're just staying at a Marriott for 5 free nights. And you might argue it's like you're paying 99, but it's like, yeah, when's the last time you've ever stayed at a Marriott? That shit usually costs you 200 plus for a night. So I'm making money back personally. That's just one way that I don't want to say abuse the system, but I use the system, right? This is how we start learning to use credit cards to our advantage. Daniel's asking, so you don't pay your card off at the due date? You pay it off? No, I do pay it off. Daniel, I do pay it off at the due date, but you need to make sure that the statement actually gets like printed, right? You know how like, what's today? Today's the 31st. So my credit card payments are due the 11th, the 16th, and the 17th, right? Like I already know because I just have it. I memorized them. So I finished that statement. When the statement closes on, let's say, the 16th, I pay it off the day that it's due. So if it's due the 17th, I pay it that day and I clear off that whole statement. But if there's still money over from the next statement, then that's fine. You're not going to get charged interest on that. You would only get charged interest on the previous statements that's due. I wish they made it easier for new peeps to start credit without needing others to help too. I mean, they do and they don't, Don. They do and they don't, Don. But it like, there's ways to it, and I know you can do it, man. If you still need help after this, reach out to me, and I'd love to talk a little bit more about that. Anyways, let's move on. Travels and perks. So now we're going to start getting into like the higher tier cards. This is on borderline of like tier 3. This is where I would put these personally. And Chase Sapphire Preferred. This is where I started. This was like my first high tiered credit card. I was really excited when I got this, and I built up into it. But essentially, this is where you start getting even more rewards. So in this case, if you apply and you actually get the Chase Sapphire Preferred, you get 80,000 bonus points, right? On top of, but with the restrictions, you need to spend 4,000 within the first 3 months. And that is like the caveat to this all. Do you actually have enough money to spend $4,000 within 3 months? And here's the issue, right? It's like the way I look at credit cards, we spend money on stuff all the time, right? Whether you're buying food, whether you're buying groceries, whether you're buying gas, whether you're buying travel, whatever the case may be, you're spending money. That money is going to be spent. You might as well make that to your advantage, right? Maybe it isn't 4,000 within the first 3 months. Maybe that is above your limit, right? Maybe that's too much. Maybe you're not here yet, and that's okay, right? This isn't a shame on you for not being able to get these credit cards. These are just showing you what's possible and what's on the other side. Once you do get to that level, right? Maybe you still need to stay here. And this is where you're going to be at for a little while. I was here for like 5-6 years because I couldn't afford anything else. I couldn't even afford these guys. Like I wasn't ready. But as I built my money, as I started getting more jobs and I started making more money overall and understanding credit and understanding how these credit card works, I started using this advantage. Right? I started paying gas, I started paying groceries, insurance. Every little thing will add up into points that eventually maybe you want to, like, every time I fly, it's very rare that I ever pay for my flights. Every time that my mom and dad fly, it's very rare that they pay for their flights. Every time I stay at a hotel, it's very rare that I pay for my hotels, right? Like I always use my credit card points, right? Like I think one of the best moments that I still have in my life is when I took my grandma, my grandpa, my mom, my dad, and myself. We went to like a really nice resort in Mexico completely free. You'll never see me do other things. You won't see me pop bottles. You won't see me. I don't drive a nice car. I don't do any of that. For me, my life and the stuff that works for me is I love travel. So this is why I've dedicated myself to this. I rather live for experiences than for moments, like, those little things or for things. That's just not what it is. But being able to travel without paying for shit is like the best feeling in the world. Anyways, this is like the mid tier. This is where I really recommend maybe a lot of you who actually who have built a good credit score. It does have a fee. I believe it's a $95 a year fee. But personally, with all the benefits that you actually get through it, it pays itself off. It pays itself off so fast. And I think, and please correct me if I'm wrong, specifically with the Chase Sapphire, if you go into a Chase bank and you apply to them, like they have little different specials. There are always little bonuses out there, right? So don't feel forced to get a specific credit card right away if you're doing it for the points, because they're always coming out with new stuff. But I remember, I think when I applied, I went to the bank and I actually got the first year waived. I didn't pay the $95 for the first year. They waive it for free. But this is one like I really enjoy, where you get like 2 times on travel purchases, 5 times on the Chase rewards, 3 points on dining, takeout and all that stuff, and 3 points online groceries. Each one has their own little way to build up points. It's up to you to look into them. Amex Gold, another one that I personally have. I actually have the Rose Gold. This is still personally, in my opinion, part of the tier 3, or tier 4 category. This has a $250 annual fee with right now a current bonus of 60,000 membership points. If you spend, again, 4,000 within 6 months, there is always a like competition between Amex and Chase and like which one you like better. And it's always difficult. I like American Express for what it has to offer, but a lot of times small businesses, unfortunately, will not accept Amex cards in the restaurants because of the fact that Amex charges high swipe fees. And a lot of businesses don't like that, right? So I do carry both because I never know which one. The American Gold, or the Amex Gold, is the one I recommend for like college students who have built credit scores, entrepreneurs or traders who have built a good credit score, because you get a lot of reward points for eating out, right? Anytime I go to a restaurant, so this is where we start getting into specifics. Sharlina, when you're like, how many credit cards should I have? I use my Amex Gold at restaurants because when I go out to eat with family members or when I go out to eat with friends, I'll end up using my Amex Gold I'll pay with my credit card, have everyone Venmo me or have everyone like pay me on the spot, whatever it is. But I collect all of those points and it's 4 times, right? So that's how I'm able to collect a lot of these points overall. You get 4 times at supermarkets, 3 times for flights, and 1K for everything else. This is definitely like a good introduction into the higher tiered credit cards. You also get 120 Uber cash, so they give you like $10 or $15 per month, and that's just kind of nice because it's just there. And every time I take an Uber, it's just good to know that I do get like a little bit of a discount on it. But if you start paying attention, like again, these are the negatives of it. As the higher you go, the higher APR, the higher interest rates you start seeing. This is 23%, right? So Mario, do you have any high tier credit card for people who don't travel? So Amex or Chase, it's not just for travel. You can use their points for other things. There's a whole portal dedicated to what their points can be used for. You can just get cash back. There's some credit cards specifically for cash back. I know Chase has one. You can do your big due diligence on that. I know Chase has a portal where you can buy like Mac products, or you can buy just different things on there, like gift cards through the points, right? So even though you're not necessarily using the points for travel, you could use them for other things. But they have a bunch of other perks that might be beneficial to you. I've unfortunately been subject to fraud. I'm sure a lot of you have also been unfortunately subject to fraud. Anytime I've ever called Amex or Chase to refund me for fraud, I have never had them say no to me. Every single time. This last one, they returned like $1,500 to me in fraud charges. I've never had an issue, and I always think that it's because I am paying a higher fee for these type of credit cards that they are willing to keep me as a customer, and they do tend to have better customer service because they do treat you better, right? So it is fun to be part of this system where they do take care of you for stuff like that. Charlene, correct. If you pay on time, you never pay interest. I never pay interest on my credit cards. Never, ever, ever. Let's move on. Chase Sapphire Reserve. This is probably, in my opinion, my favorite credit card that I've ever owned. It's officially now my longest dated credit card because I closed out my first Chase like Flex card that I had, and I would not recommend you get this now because it's like a 50,000 bonus points. I've seen way higher, but this is how you start like evening this out, right? So here, check this out. So the Chase Sapphire at the moment, it's a $550 annual fee, but they give you $300 in annual credit for travel. So that puts this card at $200 or $250, right? So you can literally use that $300 for planes, for trains, for Ubers, for whatever, anything travel related. You stay at a hotel, that goes automatically to this, not to mention all the other rewards that you are going to get with this specific card. Again, it's the same thing where you have to spend $4,000 on purchases within the first 3 months. Like I said, this is now you're starting to jump into the tier 4s where these cards are a lot more expensive. But there's a lot more benefits to this. Particularly one of my favorite things, and it's why I don't wait in TSA or when we go through checkout lines for travel. They actually compensate you for global entry or TSA pre-check. It lasts 4 years, so I actually have global entry. So that means anytime I come back to the country when I travel internationally, I don't have to wait through customs. I have my own personal line that I go through. When I go through TSA, I don't have to take off my jacket. I don't have to take off my shoes. I just cut through the lines, and Chase Sapphire pays for that, right? So each one has its own little benefits that I want you guys to go again, do your own due diligence and look and see if this is something of benefit to you. This is on a higher tier card. For guys who are really serious about getting this card, please reach out to me because it's no easy feat. But I think if we can break down how this could benefit you, I think it'd be of great interest to you. And lastly, probably the one that probably the whole Discord gives me shit over is my Amex Platinum, which I also have as well. This is where I was talking about like paying attention where you fly out of versus where you're flying to or what you're flying or being only brand loyal to specific things. I wish I got my Amex Platinum sooner. And the reason why is because we have a Centurion Lounge here in San Francisco, right? And it is just, it's just wonderful. It's just wonderful being able to go into a lounge, eat, drink, whatever you want, unlimited, right? Like being able to relax and not have to worry about everyone around you getting free coffee. If you do the math, right, for the people that do travel, and again, this isn't to front, this isn't to show off, this is just the reality of it. But it's like, if you ever bought a coffee at an airport, that shit's like $10 or more. Get yourself a sandwich, you're spending $20 to $25 for a sandwich and a coffee. And then you want some chips, now you're looking at $30. So it's like, and you haven't even bought a drink yet. Maybe you want a water, that's another $5. So let's say in total, you spent $40 every single time you go to the airport. Okay, well, my credit card fee is $700 almost. But when I'm in there, right, when I'm in there, like tomorrow, when I go to the airport, I drink mimosas when I'm in the airport. I'll probably drink 3 of them. You know, or if you've ever been to a bar at an airport, you know how expensive that is. You know how expensive it is to buy coffees. You know how expensive it is to eat food. That alone to me is worth paying the $700 for my sanity, for me being calm, for me being able to take my parents into here as well. I can bring in 2 guests. It has its own fees and its own perks as well, right? I'm not going to get into every single perk that these credit cards have. They have so many. I just want to show you what's possible if you decide to get these. Right now, it does have like a great reward points, which is 100,000. There is actually another way to get even more points for that, and I can show you how. But yeah, that's kind of. Can I turn off your camera while I dig? I think my camera's off. Dimples. Or are you talking about someone else? Okay. These points can transfer to different airlines. They do, Padre. So that is one of the things. Amex and Chase both have partners within their system that allow you to transfer these to other airlines in order for you to actually get more points, whether it's hotels as well. But yeah, you know, those are all different things that you can do. If there's a specific credit card that you're looking into, that you need advice on, or you're just getting started, you want advice on that as well, I'd love to you know, just hit me up in the DMs. I love this stuff. I love this stuff because it took me a long time to, you know, to learn it. And I want to share that with you guys as much as I can, and hope you guys can take advantage of the cool perks that it has. Like my friends have recently gotten all credit cards, and you know, they're all starting to travel as well, and they finally see how easy it is to do it. I'll leave you off with this quote. I remember listening to Tony Robbins. He said that like most people have never planned out their life, and they realize that their dream life is a lot less expensive than they really think it is, right? So like most people can probably afford their dream life. You just haven't tried it. You haven't decided to attempt to plan it out. You know, maybe you don't want to travel as much as I do, because honestly, it is a ridiculous amount. Like it's a lot. But maybe you want to go once or twice a year, right? Maybe you want to take your parents, maybe you want to take your kids, maybe you want to surprise your spouse with a really nice vacation or a nice hotel. You can do that with this, and it's still within your budget, and it still gives you all these other cool benefits, right? It all depends on the type of lifestyle that you have. It all depends on the lifestyle that you want to live. And it also depends on you being smart about actually being financially literate and not letting these things go to your head, not abusing them, not going over your limits to where you can't afford to pay off your credit cards as well, right? I never want anyone to get into that situation. But like I said, if you guys have any more questions, any advice that you guys want, feel free to contact me. You guys know where I'm at. Why do some banks give you increases and not others? That depends, Dimples. So it's funny because the banks are always sending me like, do you want to increase your credit limit? And normally, most of the time, I don't. And they actually raise it on their own. I'm not going to say like which, I don't know. You know what? I'm not even going to say the number because like I just don't. People are fucking weird. But like one of my credit cards is pretty high up in credit limit, and I've never personally upped it. I have never decided to up it myself. They've done it on their own based off my spending, based on how much I've used it, and how good I am at paying off my credit card. So those are things that they look at based off of what I've talked to with bankers. Melanie says, I have one credit card, but applied for 3 applications at the same time and got accepted to 1, but rejected to 2. How is that going to show my record? How long ago was that, Melanie? This isn't something where they're like, dude, she applied to 3 credit cards at the same time. Normally, I would never advise you to do that. So like, hey, maybe this is beneficial, right? For anyone listening, don't apply to multiple credit cards at the same time. Yeah, chill for a little bit. Melanie, don't get a credit card for a little while. Let that it goes off your record. It's not like it's on there. It's just an inquiry. Yeah, they go away after a while. It's not like a DUI. Nah, they go off after a while. I don't know the exact timeline. Maybe that's something I'll look into. But it's 3 years? No way. For a hard? Yeah, it depends if it's a hard or a soft, right? Like that's also the other thing. But even if you have hard inquiries on your credit score, you can still get other credit cards. Like it's still fine. Like you're not, yeah, it's pretty insignificant. Like it's not that big of a deal, Melanie. But I would say chill for a little bit and then see how your credit score is, because your credit score is what matters more. What ends up happening is I remember I applied for one and then I applied for another one immediately. And then I called and I was like, why was I rejected? And she said, you're rejected because you're applying for too many too fast. And they think it's a scam. They think it's fake. So that's what happens. Imagine if a credit card company receives 3 applications at the same time. They're thinking that someone's just applying and hoping they all get accepted to take advantage of it. They don't know that you're trying, right? So that's just a perfect example where maybe this knowledge would have helped you 2 weeks ago. I'm sorry. I was considering getting a Chase secured card as my first card, but one of my friends has bad experience. Oh, I went too fast. Bad experiences like 3 times. And got their identity stolen like 3 times. Has that been your experience with Chase? I wouldn't blame Chase, Alex, because I don't know at this point who the fuck hacks my cards or how they hack it, bro. You know, there's people that literally get new cards, and by the time they receive it, that card's like already hacked. It could be websites, it could be your computer. It's so complicated now, right? I wouldn't blame it on Chase. And Chase usually has a very good system to where if you do get some type of fraud, they will give you your money back. I've never had an issue with them ever like giving me money back for fraud. They're very, very good at it. No, Patrick, because what's going to end up happening is that it's going to get like hit as you trying to, at least that's what the banks told me when I applied to multiple credit cards. This was like a really long time ago. Of course, maybe things have changed, but I remember I applied to like 2 or 3 at the same time, got accepted. And I had a good credit score by then, right? I got like accepted right away. And then like, I thought I would get accepted in other ones. I didn't understand the concept of like a limit of how many credit cards you can get. That's actually another thing. Like Chase doesn't allow you, I think it's like 524 rule. So you can't, or 542, it's either 524. Yeah, it's 524. So you can't open 5 credit cards within 24 months and Chase will not accept you, which is why a lot of people usually like when they are opening credit cards, they'll go after Chase because of how Chase's rules are on you opening credit cards within 24 months. So there's that as well. I'm actually thinking about getting the preferred again. I don't need it, but like, fuck it. I don't know. I haven't opened a credit card in a while, so I could use the points. I like Chase points. They're worth more. Yep, points are the game, bro. And then just downgrade it, right? We can downgrade it after to like whatever the flex is. And that's what I should have done. I should have taken my preferred, downgraded, but I know my reserve, but my reserve has like one of my highest credit limits. So I don't want to downgrade that. So I keep it as it is because that's my oldest credit card now. And that's what your credit card score is based off of. It's actually based off of your oldest credit card that you have. So like whatever credit card, Melanie, like this is perfect, right? Whatever credit card you have now, unless like it's a really, really shitty one, don't close it because like your credit score is based off of that card. A lot of people, what happens is like they get their first credit card and they try closing it. But no, like you have to keep that one open, unfortunately, because your credit card history is now based off of that card. Let's say you do close it and you don't open up another one for 2 years, there's a gap in your credit history of 2 years. So that's why you never close your first credit card or your oldest credit card, because that's where your credit score is really coming from as well. Patrick, it depends when your next oldest credit card is, right? Whenever that is, if it's built enough credit, if it's high enough, it might be worth closing out. Yeah. See, that's not too long, you know. And if it's like a way better credit card, then it might be better, especially if you're not really using the other one. Sometimes banks too, they'll just close it out on their own. Banks, if I want to eventually get the Amex Gold or Platinum, would you say it's a good idea to build a relationship with Amex beforehand? So say apply for the Blue Cash preferred card now, then go higher tier ones later on. I also heard sometimes it's not beneficial because you won't get as good welcome bonus rewards. That's not true. I think with Amex, it's a little bit different. They just care about good credit scores. I had zero prior history with Amex before I even applied to them, and I got the gold right away. And then I think I had the gold for like a year or two, and then I applied for the platinum because I finally was able to afford something like that. So it really depends on you. You don't necessarily need to get the blue. If you want it, go for it. I think it does have like some cool perks, but it's not necessarily a requirement for Amex specifically. When I talk about relationships with banks or relationships with companies, it's mainly for like the new guys that are starting out that want to apply for, you know, these type of other things. And it does help you down the line, like getting loans and stuff like that. They do see your credit history. They see you've been with them for a really long time. They do treat you differently, unfortunately. That's it for me. I think maybe next week, if I have time, I'll try to create like credit scores, how to build credit scores, how to get into credit, and then like just like the tips and tricks of credit scores. Because I think a lot of people freak out when it's fluctuating. There's little things that affect it. There's like a lot of false rumors behind fucking credit scores, and I hate it. I think it's so stupid. And you know, if I can shed some light into it, that'd be great. But yeah, you know, like if you guys, like I said, if you guys need any help, any questions, like come out, you know, to me. I'd be more than happy to help you guys. Just because like I remember being in your shoes, having no idea what the hell I was doing. I remember over fucking spending on my credit cards. And you know, if I can do these to you guys, if I can legitly help any of you, that, you know, that'd be great. So thank you guys. I hope you guys have a wonderful day. I'm gonna be traveling tomorrow, so I might not be able to reply right away, but yeah, thank you guys.